Good evening. Today we'll be talking about Chapter 23 of Media Ethics at Work, with the chapter being called Journalist Judgments versus Audience Clicks. Now, in this chapter, it talks about what journalists are usually faced with and the dilemma on whether or not they should post what the audience needs to see or what they want to hear. Stacy Rodriguez, who is a young journalist for the Florida Journal Daily News Company, she works for a news company that's not just for her city, but a lot of people around the world and country read their news posts. Now, the newsroom that she works with is basically kind of like a free-form type of environment. There's not really any set of guidelines or rules. There's one editor, one copy, one web producer, and it's all organized around a command center. And usually, she was basically faced with a dilemma of whether or not she should post a story that's important or a story that a lot of people will probably want to read out of fun. So the way that her news company works, and a lot of news companies work the same way, is they'll reflect their design on how visitors arrive and move on their site, meaning that they follow something called the mix, where they try to mix important stories with popular pop culture stories. Now, she came across a story called the CIA admitting waterboarding inmates, and she knew this was something important because it deals with the U.S. citizens, and she went to her editor, but her editor was like, no, you should post the celebrity story on the homepage instead. And she knew that it was kind of wrong and felt weird about doing that because she knew that this story is way more important than worrying about a celebrity story, because this story deals with the U.S. citizens and their lives and what could possibly happen. And this is just a balancing act that a lot of young journalists are usually faced with, well, journalists in general. And it doesn't just go with news companies and journalism. This is something that a lot of people are faced with in their lifetime. And one example could be, say you're working for like an apartment complex and your boss wants you to get more leases and do whatever you can to get them. A lot of times they'll try to get you to say, oh, our apartment offers this, all this fun, there's a basketball court, there's a pool, but they try to leave out the important things like, oh, this will happen if you don't pay your bill, or this will happen if you don't follow this rule or that rule or the guidelines, or important things like insurance and all of that nature. They try to leave that out or save that last and try to fill you up with important things. So say your boss wanted you to do all this and try to leave out all the important stuff. Would you go along with it, or would you be honest with the person and be like, yeah, this is that and this is that and this is that? And also, say your boss wants you to leave out like things that do go on around the apartment complex, like say there's shootings or like a bad neighborhood or whatever, and the customer asks, does this happen? Would you lie to that customer, or would you just be honest with them and tell them the truth? That's something that a lot of people are faced with, and a lot of people are going to be faced with in their lifetime. Thank you.